The beginning of the next episode in Genesis is one that causes much debate today. Genesis 6 opens with saying this: "When humankind began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humankind were beautiful. Thus they took wives for themselves from any that they chose." There's a lot that could be discussed even in just these two verses, but we often miss the point when we hyperfixate on the actors of the story. Though it is good to think about who these actors are, we need to make sure we are noticing their actions. Whoever these sons of God are, they mirror the same actions of Eve in the Garden of Eden. The sons of God see the daughters of humankind, they notice that they are desirable, and they take them. After this introduction, we find out that the whole world has become corrupt. Genesis 6 demonstrates that violence and sin, introduced in previous chapters, has spread. And now things are as worse as ever. Everything is ravaged by violence. This is one of those beginnings where we think things are just going to go bad real quick. But what shines through within this passage as you read it is that God does not forsake his creation. The flood is truly disastrous. These are the very waters that God put limits on in Genesis 1 whenever he just speaks it with his voice. Yet, we should not look at the flood as God being done with creation. See the flood, better yet, as God cleansing his creation. It's like someone suffering a deep cut. In order for it to get better, you cannot just give it time. You also cannot just leave it alone. To leave it alone would be considered neglect. No, you have to clean the wound with alcohol, which will burn. It hurts. You have to stitch up the gash so that the bleeding stops and the healing can begin. Creation has suffered deep wounds throughout most of the story so far, and God's character shines through in this moment. For instead of leaving his creation and starting a brand new one, he instead gets rid of the gash and sows more seeds of life. And that is very much what the ark is. The ark operates as a microcosm of creation. It contains the animal life of the world with birds of the air and cattle and creeping things. But it also contains a family, a somewhat new Adam and Eve in Noah. And through this family, God renews his creation as opposed to just throwing it into the dump. So what is the big idea with this truly shocking episode? It is this: the creator of all will not forsake his creation. There are several poetic lines within this story, and I just want to highlight one that I think helps us understand the purpose of retelling this story. After Noah comes off the ark and makes an offering to the Lord makes a promise. And this is what he says in Genesis 8:21 through 22. "I will never again curse the ground because of humankind. Even though the inclination of their minds is evil from childhood, I will never again destroy everything that lives as I have just done. While the earth continues to exist, planting time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night, they will not cease." What is fascinating about this oath is that God does not say this to Noah. It's something that we, the readers of Genesis, get access to. That God made an oath to himself for the sake of the world to never do another flood. In other words, I think what God states here is that he will never forsake his creation. He will never forsake his people, even when we choose violence over his peace. In your own life, there can be moments where we wonder if God will forget us or simply throw us away. In those moments, I want to recall to mind God's oath. God certainly will not be content with sin, but he's also discontent with leaving us. I think a rhythm that reminds us of this is the practice of repentance, the practice of sharing with God and others our own sins. Our gut reaction is to hide or deny it out of fear or shame. But what is clear in this story is that when we go to God with sins and all, he will not forsake us. For as sure as it is bound to get hotter in June and July, God's mercy can be counted on.